In the middle of Istanbul's Bosphorus stands a tower that has watched over the waters for hundreds of years. This isn't just an architectural marvel. Thousands of tourists visit this structure daily. But why is it called the Maiden's Tower? And why do Turkish people still feel sadness when they look at it? Because every stone of this tower tells the story of a love tragedy and a father's greatest fear. This small tower on a tiny island is one of Istanbul's most photographed landmarks. Anyone looking toward the Bosphorus from Üsküdar's shore sees it immediately. When illuminated at night, it appears like a dream floating on the waters. But few people know that behind this beauty lies one of Istanbul's most heartbreaking legends. A sultan's boundless love, a daughter's imprisoned fate, and the cruelest proof that destiny cannot be prevented by any force. Today, I'll tell you the legend behind this iconic structure in Istanbul's heart. Because this isn't just an ancient story. This is a timeless tale about how love can sometimes become the greatest prison, and how fate never provides an escape route. Before exploring the legend, we must understand the real history of this tower. Every great legend builds upon a foundation of truth. This small island in the Istanbul Bosphorus has held strategic importance since ancient times. The ancient Greeks knew it as Domilis. According to their legends, this was where Io, transformed into a cow by the gods, crossed the strait during the Argonauts' journey. During the Byzantine period, the first tower was constructed on the island. Initially, this tower served as a watchtower, protecting Constantinople from maritime threats. A massive chain system connecting to Galata would block enemy ships from entering the city. During the reign of Byzantine Emperor Constantine VIII, this tower functioned as both a defense point and customs control station. All merchant ships passing through the Bosphorus were inspected here, and taxes were collected. It also served as the first line of defense against potential naval attacks on Constantinople. When the Ottomans conquered Istanbul in 1453, they immediately recognized this strategic point's importance. Sultan Mehmed II had the tower restored, making it a vital component of the Ottoman naval defense system. In the 16th century, during Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent's reign, the tower underwent major renovation. Designed by one of architect Sinan's students, this new structure became a perfect example of both aesthetic beauty and functional design. However, among the people, the tower gained its true fame through a very different story. It was rumored that sultans used this tower as a place of punishment. Those found guilty in palace intrigues were exiled to this isolated island. Within this atmosphere, the people's imagination began to work. The tower's silence, loneliness, and isolation in the middle of the sea created the perfect setting for romantic tragedies. The legend was built precisely upon this historical reality. A real tower, real isolation, but a story born entirely from the people's collective imagination. In the early 17th century, during one of the Ottoman Empire's most powerful periods, there lived a sultan known for his justice and mercy. His greatest treasure was his only daughter, Leyla. Leyla was 17 years old, considered one of Istanbul's most beautiful maidens. With her long black hair, hazel eyes, and intelligent gaze, she was the palace's beloved. But what made her truly precious was her character. Princess Leyla differed from other palace women. She read poetry, listened to music, and secretly studied philosophy books. When her mother died at age 10, her father raised her with both paternal and maternal affection. The Sultan dedicated the palace's most beautiful section to her. Leyla's quarters overlooked the Bosphorus, where she could see both Üsküdar's shores and the famous tower. One of Leyla's greatest passions was gazing at the small island in the Bosphorus. That white tower had become the center of her romantic dreams. "Gülsümana," She would often say to her nanny, "I wonder what it would be like to live in that tower, surrounded by sea, silence, peace." "My princess," Gulsamana always replied, "that tower is a very lonely place. You're happier here, beside your father." The Sultan had noticed his daughter's fascination, but didn't consider it significant. During this time, everyone discussed Layla's marriage. 17 was ideal for marriage, and many proposals arrived from princes and nobles. But the Sultan harbored a secret fear. Once he married off his daughter, he would lose her. This thought constricted his heart, so he constantly postponed the marriage. It was during these happy yet anxious days that an event occurred that would forever change their lives. One autumn morning, an elderly dervish came to the palace gates. This man had traveled from the empire's most remote corners and was known as a famous seer. Among the people, it was rumored that this dervish could see the future and received revelations through dreams. The dervish requested an audience with the Sultan. The guards initially wanted to refuse, but the man was so persistent that they eventually informed the Grand Vizier. The Grand Vizier initially didn't believe in such mystical things, but strange events had been occurring in the palace recently. The Sultan's dreams were troubled, and his concerns about Princess Leyla's health were increasing. Finally, the dervish was admitted to the Sultan's presence. The elderly man prostrated himself at the Sultan's feet and said, "My Sultan, I have come from distant lands. Allah showed me a revelation that I was commanded to deliver to you." The Sultan initially approached with skepticism. "What revelation? What prophecy? I am content with Allah's destiny and don't wish to know about the future." However, the dervish insisted, "My Sultan, this revelation concerns your daughter, Princess Leyla. If you don't listen, it may be too late." The mention of Layla's name captured the Sultan's complete attention. The fatherly concern within him immediately activated. "Tell me, what is this revelation?" The dervish, with a trembling voice, spoke the terrible prophecy. "My Sultan, in the vision I received, it was shown that Princess Leyla would die on her 18th birthday from a poisonous snake bite. This fate is written by Allah's decree and cannot be changed. However, if you take precautionary measures, it may be possible to protect her from this disaster." These words shattered the Sultan's world. His daughter's death, 18th birthday, snake bite. The Sultan angrily rose to his feet. "Silence! Don't speak such words of disaster. Nothing will happen to my daughter." But the dervish continued, "My Sultan, don't be angry. I'm only warning you. If you completely protect Princess Leyla from snakes, you may be able to prevent this fate. Place her somewhere no snake can reach." After these words, the dervish vanished as if he had never come. Palace guards searched for him, but found no trace. The Sultan couldn't sleep that night. The dervish's words kept spinning in his mind. "Nonsense," he told himself. "I don't believe in such things." But fatherly love was stronger than his logic. What if the dervish was right? What if something really happened to his daughter? Could he risk that? The next day, Layla's 18th birthday was calculated. Only 8 months remained. Within 8 months, he somehow had to protect his daughter from all snakes. The Sultan held secret meetings with the Grand Vizier and palace physicians. "How can we protect Leyla from snakes?" he asked. The palace physician said, "My Sultan, the most effective method is to keep her somewhere no snake can reach. For example, in a very high place or on an island surrounded by water." At that moment, the Sultan thought of the tower in the Bosphorus. The tower his daughter always admired, where she created romantic dreams. "The Maiden's Tower," the Sultan murmured. "It's completely surrounded by sea. No snake could reach there." Thus, the terrible plan, guided by fatherly love, took shape. The Sultan decided not to share his decision with anyone. He wouldn't even tell Leyla the real reason, because his daughter learning about this prophecy would only worry her more. His plan was this. He would have the Maiden's Tower completely redecorated, transform it into a palace, then present it to Leyla as a special surprise. Immediately, the empire's most skilled architects, decorators, and artists were summoned. The Maiden's Tower project became a secret state affair. First, the tower was completely cleaned and restructured. The interior spaces were elevated to luxury and comfort standards suitable for a princess to live in. On the first floor, a large salon and dining room were created. This salon was furnished with the finest Indian silks and Persian carpets. The walls were decorated with Quranic verses and poems written by renowned calligraphers. On the second floor, Layla's private bedroom and dressing room were prepared. The bedroom was decorated with rose-colored silks. Windows were fitted with Venetian glass. The dressing room was equipped with special wardrobes for all her clothes and jewelry. On the third floor, a library and music room were established. The Sultan knew Layla's passion for reading. The empire's rarest books, Arabic, Persian, and Turkish works, were collected in this library. On the top floor, a special terrace was arranged for Layla's favorite activity of watching the Bosphorus. Furniture was specially crafted by Italy's most skilled carpenters. Carpets were brought from Persia, silks from China, and jewelry boxes from India. Additionally, special personnel were selected to serve the tower. Led by Gulsum Ana, this staff included Layla's favorite servants, cooks, and musicians. The tower was also made perfect in terms of security. Every boat approaching from the Bosphorus would be inspected, and no stranger would be allowed to set foot on the island. Most importantly, every corner of the island was inspected for snakes. All soil was excavated, every stone was lifted, and no possibility remained for any snake to survive on the island. The Sultan also established a special inspection system for every item brought to the tower. From fruit baskets to flower bouquets, everything would be carefully examined for snakes. The process took exactly 6 months. The Sultan visited the construction almost daily, ensuring no detail was overlooked. Leyla remained unaware of all these preparations. She only noticed that her father had been busier with work lately. "Father has been very worried recently," she told Gulsum Ana. "I wonder if there's a problem." Gulsum Ana knew the truth, but had received strict instructions not to tell. "No, my princess. His Majesty is simply busy with state affairs." Leyla innocently worried about her father. She prepared small gifts, wrote sweet notes, and tried to cheer him up. The Sultan, seeing his daughter's innocent love, became even more convinced that what he was doing was right. "I must do everything to protect her," he thought. Finally, the tower was ready. After the Sultan completed his final inspections, he realized it was time to reveal his surprise to Leyla. However, he hadn't yet fully decided how to present this surprise or how to convince his daughter, because he knew Leyla would be shocked. On a spring morning, the Sultan summoned Leyla to his private chambers. When his daughter arrived, he greeted her with unprecedented affection. "My dear daughter," said the Sultan, "I have a very special surprise for you." Leyla listened to her father with sparkling eyes. Surprises were still very exciting for a 17-year-old girl. "Guess what?" the Sultan continued. "I've had a very special place prepared for you. I'm talking about the place you've always dreamed of." Leyla asked curiously, "What kind of place, dear father?" The Sultan, taking a deep breath, explained, "I've had the tower in the Bosphorus completely redecorated for you. Now this will be your special palace. Layla's first reaction was excitement. Really? Will that beautiful tower become mine? Yes, said the Sultan, but this special situation will remain just between us. There, you'll live a completely peaceful life where no one will disturb you. However, as Layla began to learn more details, she realized the situation was different. How long will I stay there? She asked. The Sultan hesitated. Well, for quite a while. Maybe about a year. A year? Layla's voice was worried. But father, wouldn't I be completely cut off from you, my friends, from life itself? No, the Sultan quickly explained. I'll visit you frequently. Gulsum Ana and your favorite servants will be with you too. Plus, you'll have all the books, musical instruments, everything you want there. But Layla's intuition was warning her. This surprise felt like a type of exile. Father, she said carefully, did I do something wrong? Is this a punishment? This question broke the Sultan's heart. His daughter was innocently blaming herself. Never, the Sultan cried. You are my most precious treasure. This is just for your safety. Safety? Layla was even more confused. From what danger? The Sultan was about to tell her the prophecy secret, but stopped himself at the last moment. Well, there are some intrigues in the palace. I want to keep you away from them. Tears appeared in Layla's eyes. But father, I want to stay here with you. Must I go to that tower? This question put the Sultan in a very difficult position. He couldn't tell his daughter the truth, but he didn't want to force her either. Layla, he said in a gentle voice, I love you very much, and because I love you, I want you to be in the safest place. Just for a while, please. Layla saw the concern in her father's eyes. She understood that his insistence had an important reason. All right, father, she said finally. If it's this important, I'll go, but I'll miss you very much. These words both relieved and further worried the Sultan's conscience. He was deceiving his daughter, and this weighed heavily on his heart. I'll miss you very much too, said the Sultan, hugging his daughter tightly. But know that this is only for your safety. That night, Layla had a long conversation with Gulsum Ana. Gulsum Ana, what do you think is the real reason father is sending me to that tower? Gulsum Ana knew the truth, but couldn't tell. My princess, His Majesty loves you very much. Every decision he makes is for your good. But I don't understand, said Layla. If he loves me, why is he sending me away from his side? This question was the beginning of a chain of thoughts that would occupy and sadden Layla for the rest of her life. 2 weeks later, Layla moved to the Maiden's Tower. The Sultan made the day as grand as possible, with special royal boats and ceremonial atmosphere. When they arrived, Layla was amazed by the tower's beauty. It was decorated far more magnificently than she had imagined. Initially, this new lifestyle seemed exciting. She could read, listen to music, and watch the Bosphorus for hours. The first week felt like vacation. However, starting from the second week, she began feeling the weight of isolation. Every day brought the same views, routines, and people. What initially seemed comforting gradually became suffocating. The hardest part was being completely cut off from the outside world. She saw no one except her father during his visits. She was removed from friends, ordinary people, and Istanbul's vibrant life. By the third week, Layla realized she was seriously unhappy. This is like a prison, she told Gulsum Ana. When she requested more frequent visits from her father, he tried to come often, but state affairs limited his time. Father, Layla asked during one visit, when will I return to the palace? A little longer, my dear, the Sultan replied, unable to give specifics. Over the following months, Leyla's character changed dramatically. The cheerful, curious girl became melancholic, withdrawn, and sometimes angry. By the 8th month, her birthday month, she barely spoke and spent most times silently by the window. The Sultan thought he was almost achieving his goal, but fate was preparing a very different plan for that month. As Leyla's 18th birthday approached, the Sultan felt both excited and anxious. Only 1 week remained until the critical birthday mentioned in the prophecy. The Sultan wanted to make this special day unforgettable for his daughter. This would be both a birthday celebration and a danger has passed celebration. The most skilled pastry chefs, confectioners, and cooks were summoned. The Maiden's Tower was specially decorated for the birthday. Colorful silk fabrics, fresh flowers, candle lanterns. The Sultan also invited Leyla's favorite musicians and poets. This celebration would be grand enough to compensate for her 8 months of loneliness. Most importantly, the Sultan planned to give Leyla great news. "You can return to the palace now." Because after her 18th birthday passed, the prophecy would lose its effect. Leyla, however, was unaware of these birthday preparations. In recent weeks, she had become even more withdrawn and hardly spoke at all. "My princess," said Gulsum Ana, "His Majesty is preparing very beautiful surprises for your birthday." "Birthday?" said Leyla, as if she didn't remember. "Am I turning 18? "Yes, my princess, and 18 years old," Leyla murmured. "Now I'll officially be considered an adult. But what adult lives like this?" This remark broke Gulsum Ana's heart. 2 days before the birthday ceremony, the Sultan came to the island to check the final preparations. When he saw Leyla, he was shocked. His daughter's beauty was still intact, but there was great weariness and sadness in her spirit. The sparkle in her eyes had faded, her joy had disappeared. "My daughter," said the Sultan, hugging her tightly, "everything will be over very soon." "What will be over, father?" asked Leyla in a tired voice. The Sultan wanted to explain the prophecy, but still couldn't do it. "This loneliness. You'll return to the palace soon." This news cheered Leyla up a bit, but not very much. "Really? Won't I live on this island anymore?" "Really, after your birthday passes." "Why after my birthday? What does this mean?" The Sultan again couldn't provide an explanation. "It's a special period. Everything will be clear afterward." On the morning of the birthday, guests began arriving at the island early. Musicians, poets, palace officials, closest friends. The celebration would begin after the afternoon prayer. A specially prepared giant cake, gifts, entertainment. Leyla experienced an excitement she hadn't felt in a long time that morning. "Finally, this is over," she thought. "Now I can return to normal life." As the afternoon call to prayer was recited, final preparations were being made. Fruit baskets were being arranged, poetry books were being prepared, musical instruments were being tuned. The Sultan conducted one final security check that morning. He wanted to ensure there could be no snake on the island. "Everything is perfect," said the security commander. "There's no danger." The ceremony would begin at exactly 12 o'clock. But at that moment, one last gift basket arrived from Istanbul. Inside were the freshest fruits, especially figs and grapes that Leyla loved, in a large basket. The carrier of this basket was an old and trusted palace man. He had been doing the same job for years and had never caused any problems. The basket was shown to the security guard for final inspection. The guard examined the fruits one by one. Everything seemed normal. The basket was taken to Layla's quarters and placed in the hall where the ceremony would begin. Right then, there was a small detail no one noticed. Among the fig branches in the basket, a thin and poisonous snake had hidden. This snake was so small and concealed that no security inspection had detected it. At 12 o'clock, the birthday ceremony began. The Sultan, at the peak of happiness, embraced his daughter. "My dear daughter, I congratulate you on your most beautiful birthday. Everything will be very good now." Layla was also truly happy, for the first time in a long while. "Father, I've missed you so much." Music began, songs were sung, poems were recited. The cake was cut, gifts were opened. And at the height of the celebration's most joyful moment, Layla reached for a fig from the fruit basket. At that instant, the poisonous snake attacked. The moment the snake bit Layla's finger, the entire celebratory atmosphere instantly fell silent. Layla's scream echoed through the tower's walls. "Snake!" someone shouted. "A snake bit the princess!" When the Sultan heard these words, he felt as if the world had collapsed upon him. 8 months of all efforts, all precautions, all protection, everything had been in vain. He immediately rushed to Layla's side. His daughter had 2 small but distinct marks on her finger. The snake was trying to escape from where it had hidden among the figs, while security guards struggled to catch it. "Stay calm, my daughter," said the Sultan, though his own voice was trembling. "This is nothing. We'll treat it immediately." However, the security guard who caught the snake revealed the terrible truth. "My Sultan, this appears to be a very venomous species." The palace physician was immediately summoned, but it would take time for him to reach the Maiden's Tower. Meanwhile, Layla's condition began rapidly deteriorating. Her finger had swollen, her face had turned pale. She was having difficulty breathing. "Father," she said in a weak voice, "I feel very ill." These words shattered the Sultan's heart. He remembered the prophecy, on her 18th birthday, from a snake bite. "No," he screamed to himself, "this will not happen." Immediately, all palace physicians, healers, even palace medicine experts were summoned. At the same time, messages were sent to Istanbul's best treatment centers. But time was working against them. The snake venom was spreading rapidly through Layla's body. Gulsum Ana knelt beside Layla's head, crying and reciting prayers. Servants were running about in panic. Musicians and guests were watching the event in great shock. The Sultan knelt beside his daughter and held her hand. "Layla, stay with me. Everything will be fine." "Father," said Layla in an increasingly weak voice, "I want to ask you something." "Ask, my dear, whatever you want." "Why did you really keep me here?" This was the Sultan's greatest fear. But there was nothing left to hide anymore. "A seer," he said in a trembling voice, "had said you would die on your 18th birthday from a snake bite. I kept you here to protect you." A look of understanding and sadness appeared in Layla's eyes. "So this imprisonment was out of love?" "Yes, my dear, only to protect you." Layla squeezed her father's hand with a weak smile. "Father, sometimes love can become the greatest prison." This statement deeply shook the Sultan's soul. His effort to protect his daughter had caused her the greatest pain and ruined her final year. "Layla," he said through tears, "forgive me. I only wanted to protect you." "I forgive you, Father," said Layla. "But understand one thing. Fate is inevitable. By locking me in this tower, you only stole a year from my life." These words were full of wisdom and maturity. An 18-year-old girl, even while dying, could understand and forgive her father's love. Toward midnight, despite all medical efforts, Layla's condition became hopeless. Her final words were, "Father, the time I spent in this tower was very sad. But now I understand that you suffered greatly too, because you loved me." And as the morning call to prayer was recited, Princess Leyla breathed her last. When news of Princess Leyla's death reached Istanbul, the entire city mourned. The people deeply felt this tragedy of an innocent girl. The Sultan nearly reached madness, holding himself responsible. "I killed her," he constantly repeated. After the funeral, the tower officially became known as Maiden's Tower. Previously called Sea Tower or Leander's Tower, now everyone called it simply Maiden's Tower. Among the people, the story gradually became legend. Each storyteller added their own details. Some said, "The girl was so beautiful, the Sultan never wanted her married." Others claimed, "She loved a prince, but the Sultan forbade it." In some versions, love stories were added about princes from across the shore. Over the years, the prophecy detail was forgotten. Only the theme of fatherly love and protection remained, interpreted by people as cautionary tales about overprotection. The story spread to Europe in the 18th century, adapted for literature in the 19th and cinema in the 20th. Each time, different versions emerged. Most importantly, Istanbul's people adopted this story as part of their cultural identity. Young lovers make vows looking at the tower. Mothers give advice referencing Layla's tale. Thus, Princess Leyla's real story transformed into legend. But the legend became more powerful than the original, becoming the story of all Istanbul, all lovers, all parents. Today, in the 21st century, the Maiden's Tower remains one of Istanbul's most popular destinations. Thousands of tourists visit daily, taking photographs and listening to stories. But most importantly, this is the legend's place in the daily life of Istanbul's people. In modern Istanbul families, the Maiden's Tower story is still told. Mothers reference this story in their relationships with teenage daughters. "I won't overprotect you. I won't become like Layla's father." Young people reference this story in matters of romantic relationships. "I won't lock you in the Maiden's Tower. I'll set you free." Even in therapy and psychology, this legend is used. Psychologists cite this story as an example when discussing overprotective parenting. Istanbul's wedding photographers use the Maiden's Tower as a background, theming eternal love. Poets and writers compose modern versions. Thousands of posts are shared on social media under the hashtag Maiden's Tower. Most strikingly, the story's message has contemporary relevance. In the modern world, generation conflicts between parents and children, overprotection issues, freedom versus safety dilemmas, all exist in this 400-year-old story. A romantic landmark for tourists, part of cultural identity for locals, a therapy tool for psychologists, an inspiration source for artists. The Maiden's Tower legend has thus become a pure example of urban legend, because it is connected to a specific location, physical tower, has been transmitted for generations, generational transmission, meets social needs, parenting lessons, is integrated with cultural identity, Istanbul identity, has modern relevance, contemporary issues. This legend doesn't belong only to the past. It lives in the present and is carried into the future. Every Istanbul child knows this story. Every Istanbul couple in love looks at the Maiden's Tower. Every Istanbul mother has Layla's mother in mind. Princess Leyla physically passed away 400 years ago, but culturally, she continues to live daily in Istanbul's streets, homes, and hearts. This is the power of a true urban legend. Not just a story, but living culture. Have you heard this legend before? What feelings do you experience when looking at the Maiden's Tower? Share your thoughts in the comments. Under the Urban Legends, we continue discovering the immortal legends of the mortal world together. If you believe this legend of love and protection deserves more attention, don't forget to like and share. Every legend gives us a map to build bridges between past wisdom and present challenges. A new urban legend is coming soon. Until then, continue exploring the balance between love and protection. And remember, sometimes the greatest love is being able to give the greatest freedom. Mortal world, immortal legends.